after 3 months of training and many challenges in between, we can delay this thing no more. And I'm nervous to say it, but let's go 5-minute mile hunting. Okay, so here we have the start, day one, race one. Obviously it's Mika and myself being paced by Mike. Obviously Kiara and Abby were going to join us the following week, which came about due to Kiara's calf injury. So we started off the first 200 at a pretty fast pace, and this is now the end of the first 200 where Mike kicks it back. I think we averaged like 2:45 for the first 200, so that was a bit crazy, and it really hurt me. I think Mika managed to still come through it, you know, all right and sort of unscathed, but it really took it out of me. So this is the end of the first lap, and the lap split was 1:12, ended obviously, including the 2 seconds to the start, 1:14 for the end of the first lap. And that was a little bit fast, 2 seconds ahead of target. So the second lap naturally took a little bit of a kick back into a slightly slower pace, and I dropped off at that stage. We hit 2:30, which was dead on where we wanted to be. We just obviously split the first lap a bit faster and the second lap slower. And then obviously it got into the meaty end of the race. I was falling horribly off the pace, you know, dying a million deaths. And Mika was still looking really good on the time, and Mike was pacing him. And the nice thing is that Mike could just worry about him, didn't have to worry about anyone else running with him, and could really pace him as he was feeling. And then they sort of split 1:15 for that third lap. Which was great. It kind of put them 1 second down overall with 1 lap to come. But yeah, Mike could basically tow Mika as far as possible and try and get him into a sort of a situation where you know, he's going to hit that time. So you can see him here just on the finish straight, finishing up with a 1:09, incredible final lap, and managed to get his 4:54. So that was absolutely awesome. We are so stoked for him, and you see us now just sort of going through a cool down. Abby and Kiara were there. They were going to do a little bit of a training session afterwards as well, so you can see us just doing a little bit of an active recovery here. Then we went on to sort of do a little bit of a session. I didn't do much of it, to be honest. The girls and Mika did some solid training afterwards, and yeah, so that was a very successful day, and everything was in place for the girls' sort of final attempt. You know, the next week, where we all got together and all raced with them. But it was really awesome to have Mika, you know, on the board with his 4:54. It meant that from a performance side of view, you know, we were definitely, it was a success. You know, we had our first sub 5-minute mile. Mika, tell us your story.
Okay, so obviously I have already completed an attempt at doing a sub 5-minute mile last week Friday, and I managed to do it in 4 minutes 54 seconds, so pretty happy with that. So obviously this week I'm less stressed. I can just come and try and bet on my time, but I don't have any real pressures on me. Last week I was feeling a bit stressed and nervous before the run, but this week is just more relaxed, I guess. Yeah.
What are you hoping to do today?
Just try and beat my time if possible, like even by 1 second or 2 seconds, but we'll see how it happens.
Okay, so I am very scared and nervous to do this, but my plan is to basically just stick to Mike's tail for as long as I can, to hit those 1:14 laps at 3:05 for as long as I can, and then if I fall off the pace, just to keep going, you know, yeah.
And what do you think about this little bit of wind that's popping up? Is that
not loving the wind. No, not loving it. Okay, so I'm feeling nervous and scared and excited all at the same time. And yeah, it's going to be interesting. So what I'm planning on doing is, because Mike's running in the front and then it's Mika and then Abby and then myself. So I'm planning on just sticking to Abby and the whole race, and then if I've got anything left in me at the end, I'll try have a little kick, but I don't know if that's really going to happen, but yeah.
Okay, so obviously last week we gave this thing a shot for the first time. The target pace for me was going to be pretty steep, but we went out even faster than that and I completely blew. And yeah, just got progressively slower as the race went on. So today I've taken, obviously last week I took a fly at the pace and I've decided like it's just not for me, I can't do it. So this week I'm actually going to just pace things on my own and try and do a decent time. To try to do a PB, so I'm aiming for 3:15 today. And I feel that with the kind of shape I'm in, even that's going to be kind of a sort of a tough ask. I just know I'm not going to get close to 5 hours. So instead of trying to be pig-headed and trying to force my way through it and end up just in a similar vein to last week, I'm going to go out a bit more cleverly and sort of hit that 3:15 from the start. And who knows, maybe I finish a bit stronger and can pull a few seconds back. Okay, so this is the start of the second event, the second mile attempt. You can see here that we're all sort of heading out at just a slightly easier pace than the week before. I was intending to run my own pace. I realized from the week before that I wasn't going to get this sub 5 and I needed to just try and pace myself towards some kind of respectable time. So dropping off nice and early, but you can see that the girls and Mika and Mike, everything looking nice and neat, nice and controlled. At this stage, probably feeling fairly comfortable and within themselves, but obviously that does sort of start to change. You can see here a slight gap opening between Mika and Abby, and that's the sort of the start, the time when your mind does start to play tricks with you. After one lap, I'm feeling like this already. How can I possibly go 3 more? That sort of thing. So you can see that gap does just stretch open a little bit. It must be noted that the conditions were not great. It was very gusty, wind suddenly picking up out of nowhere and gusting in your face, and there was a fire that day which had sort of infiltrated its way into the air. So it was tricky. Alright, so we're coming into the second home straight with about 750 meters in, and this is where Mika decides to go around Mike and try and see if he can go faster than he went the week before. Then you see Mike sort of checks around. Obviously he's looking for the girls to make sure that they get onto him. Abby gets onto the back of Mike and Mike realizes we need to make up time here, we're behind time, and he sort of goes ahead and obviously Abby's distanced again. So it's that sort of horrible moment where that elastic is just stretching and it's, I think we've all been there, we know what it's like when you're on your limit and someone's trying to encourage you to run faster, but you just can't, you're giving it everything. And this is the girls coming through here, at the end of lap 3, and you can see there are little gaps. There's a gap between Mike and Abby, there's a gap between Kiara and Abby, and it's just, everyone's kind of just doing everything they can to hang in there as much as possible. The lap splits were all slower. The first lap was a 1:16, then it went to 1:17 on the second lap, 1:19 on the third lap, and then the girls did 1:18. So pretty respectable splits, very consistent. There was Mika coming home there. Mika came home in 5 minutes flat, so you can see what a difference the week made. And Abby coming home in 5:13 with Kiara just behind her, 5:15. So the times were slightly slower than we expected that day. What happened to me? Well, I made myself a promise that if I wasn't on for a PB, I was not going to deny myself the opportunity to watch the girls and Mika go home for the second time. I felt like last time I suffered myself around the track, threw everything at it, and the time was horrible, and I was like, look, if I'm not on for at least sort of a 5:20, I'm going to pack it in after 3 laps and at least try and watch the girls and Mika come home. I was going to probably do about a 5:30 flat, so yeah, it wasn't anything that I was going to be super proud of. I've got all the answers I need, so I decided I'd be better off to sort of watch the girls and Mika come home. So at the end of the day, what do we take from this? Was this campaign a success with regards to athletic performance? There were 4 of us. 1 of us got under the 5-minute mark. Abby and Kiara got pretty close, and I was nowhere near. Is that a success? To be honest, yes, because we did more aggressive training, more challenging training than we may have done if we'd set our targets lower and said, okay, look, let's go out and do 5:10, which was what the original sort of plan was going to be. So in us setting our targets higher, our expectation was obviously higher, which meant that we might have come out of this with more of a perception that there was that we didn't all succeed, but in effect, we all improved in our various areas. And I think that's the massive thing, the take-home message for everyone out there, is that it's okay to shoot high and miss, because if you shoot lower and hit your target, you really are potentially limiting your improvement. We were forced into, levels of difficulty in training that we maybe wouldn't normally go through, and it has made us stronger. It has forced us to try and sustain higher paces for longer, and even though we didn't quite get there in the end, it is something which will benefit us going forward. And as long as you aren't afraid of failing, there's absolutely nothing to lose in shooting high. Because we ramped up the training and we made it so challenging that we really did, all develop significantly fast when you consider that the period of time we were working was only 3 months. And certainly for Abby and Kiara, who do this type of training regularly, for them to experience such a big improvement over 3 months is huge. Obviously for Mika, who it's completely new training for him, he's going to respond a lot quicker because new stimulus on the body, faster response. For myself, a very similar thing, except very important element there that I improved on, but even more important element was left untouched. So you can see where this all fits into the bigger picture. The bottom line is we've all made massive improvements, and there's no reason why you shouldn't go out there and set yourselves ridiculous targets and see if you can do it. And if you don't, you're probably going to do a lot better than you did before. You're probably going to nab some PBs if you haven't got like amazing PBs already. We are not done yet. You are going to see some training ground videos that are going to come out where we are going to have a little training ground chat with Mika, Abby and Kiara, and we will be releasing those on our channel. So it's not the end, and you haven't heard any post-race interviews with them and how they're feeling, but those have actually already been done, and we will be releasing them slowly throughout the next couple of days. So you will have that to look forward to. But thank you so much for joining us on this challenge. It has been a truly awesome experience, and it's been so great to have you all along with us. And we really hope to do something similar soon.